Whoopsie. So, we're doing the Pajama Game, obviously. The Pajama Game is a fun, fluffy movie, right? Right? Or, well, the short answer is yes, it is. But I have 2 pages. You will find out why. The story that I've been told about the Pajama Game is, well, the Pajama Game is actually a musical that was on the stage before it was on the screen. And usually it takes like many years on stage and then on screen. And the timeline of this one is quite different. Because the book is from a book. It was written in 1953. Then it went on to becoming musical in 1954. And this movie is from 1957. And I checked because I wanted to see in what social political time frame this is. And basically it's in its own time. So I can assume that this is correct for the time. I mean, the difference between 1953 and 57 is not that great. But if it had been 1934 versus 1957, that's a different story. And considering that the story is about unions. I did say it was a fluffy movie, right? It's about unions. And also about work culture. And the story I've been told about the becoming of a musical of this particular book is that the people in Broadway casting about for, we need a story right now. And somebody says, we have the copyrights for this book. Here you go. And then the other person comes back and says, this is about unions. And then the boss says, make it fun. The story is a little bit wrong, I realize, because when you start looking at the names involved, the writer of the book is actually involved in writing of the musical. So not quite like that, but I did read the synopsis of the book, and yeah, they made it a little bit more fun for the musical, and a lot more songs. Deplorably few songs in the book. Bad book, needs more songs. So the journey from the stage to the screen is also interesting. And again, I looked at some stats and some names, and one of the things that cautionary research shows that at this time, directors on average do about 1 or 2 films a year. Maybe 3 if they're doing that's a lot already for most directors. And I looked up this director, who's now co-directed by the producer as well. This guy did 5 films in 1 year. And that's usually bad news because that's going to affect quality. But here it went differently because yes, this is a film. But they had the stage musical, which was completely staffed with wonderful people, all new to Hollywood because they were in New York and Hollywood's not in New York. And so they took everybody and brought them all to Hollywood to film this in very quick succession. And the only concession they made towards Hollywood is they needed a star. And whether it be the male lead or the female lead, there was talk of the male lead, and I do have some names of who it would have been. But then if the male lead had been Hollywood, then the female lead would have been the stage one. As it is, it's Doris Day is the female lead, and so we get the stage fella to play the male lead. John Raitt, I'm going to assume that you pronounce that Raitt, I'm not sure. This is the only movie he was in Hollywood. There was some TV stuff he did later, and he reprised some of his iconic Broadway musical roles in television. But the film, I think this is the only film he ever did. And this actually goes for a whole bunch of these people that you never see in Hollywood. And the story is set in small time Iowa or Idaho or something like that, with normal people in it. And the people you get are not the people you usually see in Hollywood. There is a fat lady who is not made fun of in any way. There is an older lady. There's a whole bunch of people you don't usually see. And they're as good as anyone else in Hollywood. They're just not Hollywood ideal. And the young lady who is placed the secretary, Carol Haney, and she was a big star of Broadway, of course. But she's not Hollywood's classical beauty, to put it like that. Wonderful dancer, wonderful singer, was good enough at least for enjoyment. These people are very enjoyable, and that's one of the reasons I've watched this movie so many times. Is these people are enjoyable to watch, singing and dancing and being joyful all over the place. Plonking the musical straight from the stage onto the screen. Advantages, disadvantages. Disadvantage is that in Hollywood's style filming, and which is now the standard style of filming, is you set up a scene in a certain way. You do a wide shot of the people all the way down to their waist, or if you're doing dance scenes all the way down to the floor. Then you do a middle shot that has like a little bit more than you have here for me. And then you do a close-up and you do that. And they don't do that. They film the scene. Some of these scenes are just simply one take or one or two takes. And they just do a middle. And maybe zoom out, zoom in. They do some camera movements. But it's very fast. For all scenes except for the ones that Doris Day is in. And I think the reason for that is that these people have been doing this play on the stage for the last 3 years. They know it backwards. They can do it perfectly every single time. But Doris Day is the newbie to this show, and she got the script today, And the one place where you notice that even more is the singing. She's quite shrill, unusual shrill, and not used to her being so shrill. I don't mind it. I think it fits. But I understand from other singers that this is what you get when you're under-rehearsed. You need to rehearse some more to get it into your brain and get everything going, and then you can do it less shrill. And so I think she was under-rehearsed and she was annoyed about it. Again, it doesn't matter for the role because the character is annoyed at the situation. So Doris Day is a good actress. She doesn't need to do any method acting here to get the results, But I think that she actually was annoyed. And she channeled it into the fast-pacedness that the other people also have. A lot of fast-pacedness. And I think that worked out. But I think she probably, if you talk to her about it afterwards, she is annoyed at this film. She was not happy. But like I said, I don't think it matters because the character is a young lady of a hick town. She doesn't need to be the perfect singer. None of them really are. There are a couple of singers there that have very shrill voices where you go, oh my God. And my grandmother would say, are you trying to break up Cole with that voice? And yet the difference between these characters is what makes this story lovable, likable. There are a lot of people in this story. So only Doris' scenes got some actual... I'm not saying not directing, because I think the director did direct, but mostly he directed the entire scene to fit into the space available and where it put the camera. And so the other scenes, that's not Doris Day, are everybody side of face and other side of face,
Sounds like nobody took enough time.
Yeah, and I thought, thinking about it, is this fair? And I think if the only options are we either do it this way or we don't do it this at all, then I'll take this way. I think John Raitt is absolutely charming, and Doris Day and him being the love couple of the story are absolutely charming together. It works. Even all those issues. What also works is very colorful. The 1950s fashion, wonderful. Also, the choreography of the original musical was done by Bob Fosse. It was actually his first time to doing it, so he was a newbie. And I think they, with minor changes, they took his choreography and stuck it onto celluloid. 1950s fashion, and but work fashion. So many aprons in that factory. So much gossip in that factory. Oh my God, so much gossip. And I think that's what the film is about, this workspace and the people in it. The linchpin character is, of course, the Sid Sorokin, the new kid on the block, or new gentleman on the block, who comes in as the new superintendent. And the film does tell us, but the book is actually, that's what the book is about, is that he actually bullshitted himself into the role, because he is actually from another factory. He was just a floor worker, and now he's just pretending that he's management and gets a job here. So he walks in as this new person in this new to this town, into this factory. And then another thing that the film actually doesn't say at all, but it's in the synopsis of the book, is that this director of the factory, the boss, Mr. Haskell, is not the factory owner. The factory owner is absentee. The Mr. Haskell is only an operation director. Directors of operation. I'm not sure what that. He's the management, but he's not the owner. And the second thing they don't tell you, and this is very important, is that this guy did not come from the garment industry. He comes from somewhere else, and he has no clue. Whereas Sid, who comes from another garment factory, does know about how garment factories are supposed to work. And we're making pajamas because it's the Pajama Game, and the game we're in, etc. I can't sing right now, but there you go. The plots, you have on the one side the love stories. There's more than one, and on the other side you have the plot of the actual book, and the book was called 7.5 Cents. It's about unions, and so Sorokin came from being blue collar, and now is that called white collar when he's management? I think it's called white collar. And he of course falls in love with the very first or second pretty girl that he sees, by way of Doris Day. And Doris Day is a floor worker, blue collar, and part of the union. In fact, she's the chairman of the grievance committee, which is how he meets her in the first place. But he's management, and she's a worker, and there is a and the film doesn't do it justice to tell the story, and I think the book may not also do this, but in the garment industry as a whole, wages have been going up by about 7.5 cents. So the unions, the union that is part of for this factory, is trying to get Mr. Haskell to actually ante up that, and it is they're getting hot. They're heading straight for a strike, basically. And when I was looking at this, and I'm going, in the Netherlands we also have unions, and we also have bosses. But we have something interesting that I think they're lacking, is a CAO. And a CAO is a central labor agreement that the industry leaders, the employers, make with the unions that are for this particular industry, a general agreement over what is the norm in this branch, in this in this field of industry. And that 7.5 cents would have been in that. And so this entire discussion wouldn't even come up. In the Netherlands, you also have like a
Federation of Dutch Trade Unions.
Yeah, a Federation of Dutch Trade Unions. That is a organization that is on top of all the unions. And they also have agreements between each other. How do we do unions? It's all formalized. And so in this film, the union people are trying to make it up. The boss is trying to, I'll get to a second to what he's trying to do. And Sid is in the middle of this trying to avoid a strike. Now, the first thing that happens is the very first conflict comes to I forget who said it, but a slowdown. Starts working slower. And again, this is something we know in Dutch. In Dutch, we would actually do a spitsheidsactie. And that means everything according to the book action. So when it says in the book that you you do this task from that time to that time, you do this task from that time to that time, and not anything else, more or outside of that. So this slowdown is in the style of a stiptheidsactie, and the film shows this as a completely new concept. A lot of these things are like completely new concepts, and they're not. They have unions in the States. They have them less now, but they had them certainly in 57. They knew. This is why I wanted to look up from when is this book, because if it had been like a 30s book, unions big in the 30s. And I think this is like nearly the end of the union time, and slowly after this, unions are going to disappear, because I think it's a bad idea, but they should be bad. You should bring them back. They're wonderful. One of the other things they do is sabotage. And there's going to be rules in our Dutch unions that says sabotage is no. No, you can stop working, but sabotage and breaking of things, nope, 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 nope. Of course, when that happens, it is our Doris Day character, who goes by the name of Babe, who does it, and she admits to it, and she gets canned. And now Sid actually has to can her. And this is a moment in the film when he realizes that he's in love with a girl that's going to be very hard for him to get because of situation. And I think the best song in the movie is when he sings to his dictaphone, and then he rewinds the dictaphone and he sings a duet with himself on the dictaphone. It is so good. Filmed really without much of anything. It doesn't need anything. It's beautiful. And later she actually sings one verse of the same song, but to herself in the mirror. It's beautiful. Yeah, the songs are wonderful in this thing. What is not so wonderful is the relationships between the peoples. So you have her and him, and they are together. I think he's pushing her around a little bit too much, but since she doesn't push back, I think it's fine. But there's this other couple, Gladys and Hinsey. Gladys, the secretary, the young secretary, and Hinsey, the floor manager of the sewing floor. And Hinsey, oh my God, this guy is so jealous. She shows Sid as a newbie around the place, and Hinsey goes nuts with all kinds of accusations. And I was looking at this, and really, basically, if you have anybody in your life who acts like this, change your name, move to the other side of the country, and never contact this person again. This guy is toxic. And unfortunately, the movie ends up with him and Gladys making a go of it. But, oh my God, no. There are some healthy relationships in the thing. There's the fat lady. I'm gonna have to look up what her name is, but and calling her fat lady is not a nice way of doing it. She actually looks wonderful with the 50s fashion. 50s fashion seems to come in 2 types: the pencil skirt and the A-line skirt. Doris always wears a pencil skirt unless it's the party. Then she wears an A-line skirt, and the fat lady always wears an A-line and a pencil skirt of some sort, a pencil dress usually. A fat girl, young lady, and the tall, thin. Yeah, I'm sorry for the name calling. I do apologize. And the tall, thin fella who looks like a matchstick, basically. If we're gonna do that, they find each other very sweetly. And then there's the very unreported, they don't give it a scene or anything, relationship of the older secretary, the one who always has a hat and always very ladylike. And she is obviously together with the salesman, the traveling salesman. They're together at the company picnic, and then later at the end scene, they are the ones who come in together. So yeah, they're together. So that's sweet. But Hinsey and Gladys, oh no. I looked up Carol Haynes, put it here. It's a pretty sad story. The actress who played Gladys. Alcoholism. Anyway, so we have but Gladys and Hinsey are both management. The secretary lady and the salesman, they are all in the management category, whereas Sid and Babe are management going with Floor, and that's a problem. I think that's what the book is about. His with Sid as the main character, finding out about the factory and the problems it's in, and then falling in love with the girl that he can't have, and trying to work that out. It's kind of what the film is about as well, with a lot more singing involved. And then we get to my second page, which is about the 7.5 cents. I think one of the other great songs in this movie is the 7.5 song, the rally. Sid is actually talking to Mr. Haskell, and he had asked the union leader to keep the rally going so he can talk to Mr. Haskell, because he knows what's going on. He got into the books. There's something going on. Keep the rally going, so they're going to keep the rally going, with Doris Day, of course, and the leader of the local union. The 7.5 cent song goes: 7.5 cents isn't a heck of a lot. 7.5 cents doesn't mean a thing. Give it to me every hour, 40 hours every week, and I'll be living like a king. That's the text. And I did do some calcs, and I'll give them to.
I did the calcs way back when as well. I was like, no, you will not be living like that.
Well, the song actually says that you can buy after a year, I think, you can have enough to buy a washing machine. And that is correct, because I checked the Peanut Gallery.
$130 to $250 for a washing machine in 1957.
Yeah, and you get about at 7.5 cents at 40 hours every week. Will get you about $150 per year extra, not altogether, extra. Then the next thing that says they're talking about houses and stuff like that, and it ends with buying a factory, and that's not an option. And the prices as listed, it's about $150 per year extra. In money for today, that would be about $1,550 extra. And yeah, you can buy a good washing machine for that. And start buying half a car. It's about what they have. Half a second-hand car, of course.
$150 in 1957 is about 1,700 today.
Yeah. Okay. So extra, and
so that's a lot of money because it's also it's not after tax. It's before tax.
It's before tax.
Still, so you probably end up with about $1,200 extra. Today's money. That's $100 a month.
Yeah.
Clean.
Yeah.
Like no taxes anymore. The taxes are done.
Uh-huh.
That's a fair amount of money.
Yeah. So this is why I wanted to calculate it. What is 7.5 cents? Because it doesn't mean a heck of a lot. But 7.5 cents doesn't mean a thing. But if you give it to me every hour, 40 hours every week, and time and a half for overtime. And so the interesting thing when the rally ends with Sid bringing Mr. Haskell, he has seriously given the guy a tongue lashing, and Mr. Haskell is now changed his tune, and everybody gets their 7.5 cents, and everything is good. But the film makes one, and I remember that from the very first time I saw it. They are having this dispute for 6 months. It's been 6 months that the entire industry has been getting more and more money than these people were getting. How much money did Mr. Haskell embezzle?
How much did he save, under air quotes, by stretching it 6 months? Yeah.
If you assume that there are 100 people working in that factory and everybody is entitled to that 7.5 cents raise, and I think probably everybody is, you have the stats here. I wrote it down.
Yeah. So 100 employees over 1 year is $15,000.
In that money, in those times,
so
times 10. It's in Dutch. In current money, it's times 10 and round up.
171,000.
Yeah, but he only did it half a year, so it's half of that. It's a $75,000 in current day money. A little bit more. 80 probably.
86,000.
86,000 in current money that he embezzles and gets to keep. That is the movie. The book actually says it was retroactive. In the film they state it's not retroactive. In the book it was retroactive.
And still, when we have the average blue collar salary in the USA being $60,000 per year, that would mean he only embezzled about 1.25%, so 1.25 person's worth of income, and that's on 100 people. He's embezzling about 1% of what, if they had just given it to the people, then he wouldn't be embezzling, and it really wouldn't impact business that much. You're talking a 1% raise on their normal.
No, it's 4. It's 4. It's 4%. I looked it up.
And in a booming economy, 4% inflation and therefore raises are very normal.
Yeah, this is a
very
normal
economy.
This is a normal correction for the normal growth of the economy and progression of the economy, and that Mr. Haskell is trying to defraud the people out of it is despicable. And should not be celebrated at the end, which is basically what it is. That ends with a happy end. He makes a speech. Everything's good. No, not retroactive pay. Everybody's happy.
So if they fought for 6 months for the 7.5 cents, and they get it now, what about next year's inflation? You know, they're gonna have to do another fight of another 6 months.
It's the 4 years inflation. I don't think this is inflation over the 1 year. I think this is over a longer period, but people are starting to notice it. That's why you get a correction. So I think that maybe over a period of 3 or 4 years. And yes, I think every 3 or 4 years you would have to do something. Yeah.
Well, since the book did have retroactive pay, that was a change that they made for either the play, but for definitely the film.
I think either one.
That may fall under the Hays Code.
No, I think more of an less interest in the popularity of unions is going down. But this is why I wanted to do this movie. This is one of the problems with our modern society in certain places where this movie was made. Unions have a reason they exist, because the entire reason that Sid actually starts looking for where is the problem between management and staff, because he's kind of in the middle, even though he's officially management, he starts looking for is it in the books? Why is the money not here when everybody else seems to have, the entire industry seems to have this money, this growth money is there. Why is it not here? And since he also has a union mindset, because he comes from a union level, he starts looking for it. And in the end, it is the unions that give the people this raise, because the next step was to going on a full strike. It wasn't necessary, but they made enough noises, enough slowdowns, enough, hey, we're going to be very angry pretty soon. So, your jolly, fluffy, nothing movie it's not so jolly and fluffy as it may be.
Well, I think that's the strength of good entertainment, to bring in a message as well while entertaining people.
Yeah. But I think they should have been a little bit more strong, because, like I said, they are on the cusp of the unions are not interesting anymore. They want to get rid of the idea of unions, because I think what they feel at the time is that unions, you only have them if you're really poor. And they're not. It's the 50s. They don't want to look like they're poor.
If you have to fight for 7.5 cents, you are poor.
Yeah, but if you steadfastly for many years don't find for your 7.5 cents, you're going to be a lot poorer and with worse situations and working situations, and which is what some people have right now. So unions have a reason to exist. And like I said, in the Netherlands, we have formalized it that if there is a misstep like this would have happened, they could have gone very quickly to a union, check the CAO. Is it fitting with the CAO? Is the CAO still correct? Because the CAO does get renegotiated once in a while when the I think very recently the teachers said, we need a little more. And so they go back and they do a proper renegotiation for the entire branch. We need the teachers need 2% more. Is it possible? And they figure it out, and then everybody gets that standard raise.
We also have minimum wage.
But that is...
And the minimum wage is government...
that's a government thing.
It's a political...
Yeah. And a minimum wage, if you do it with just minimum wage or just with government oversight, it's not enough. You need the input of the people who are on the floor or doing the work, warning you, okay, we need a certain thing here. I think the Dutch unions for builders rang the bell and said, guys, we understand we want our retirement age to be nice and high. That's not feasible for somebody who's crawling around work sites all day long in cold and wet, and it's not possible. We have to have a branch-wide agreement on that, and then if it's really very fundamental, it goes to the government, and then they make it straight up law. But you have to have something in between. And you have to have your unions to get to ring the bell and to make action, So the film, it's in there, but I don't think it's strong enough. But it's a fluffy musical, It's Doris Day. That is my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.